Alan, how are you? Thank you for coming to our podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
What's up, brother? Great to be here. It's an honor.
Alan, tell me, how did it all start for you? What did you have to how did you get here? Give me from the beginning of time when you started in sales and how did it all come about.
So you wanted me to share with you how I started in terms of like sales career, or you wanted to start from like when I was like freaking born?
Not born, but
let me share something with you, and I think it's all gonna tie together to what we're discussing here, right? So like I don't know if you know this, and I don't share this with a lot of people, but I was actually diagnosed with a heart defect, and I think it's called VSD, ventricular something defect, right? And the doctors told my parents that I have like a 50-50 chance of living past like 2 or 3 years.
No way.
Yeah. So back in the days, former Soviet Union, Uzbekistan, I remember my dad took me to many different specialists all over the country, and they were running different types of tests, and everybody said exactly the same thing, except one doctor. One doctor said, look, we cannot operate you on this, but there's a good chance that you're going to be able to outgrow. Basically what it is, it's a hole inside of your heart.
No way. Wow.
No joke.
That's insane.
Right. So thank God, by the grace of God, Hashem, I was able to outgrow this thing. And at that age 6 and 7, I think, when they tested me again, they said, you know what, you're fine.
Clear.
But since then, my mom, she always worried about, my heart, and, she would always like make sure that, I don't stress and, I don't go, overdrive with all the things that I'm trying to do. So, but that was kind of like the first adversity that I experienced in life was that period of time, right?
Wow.
I think the second one was, and I'm sure you can relate to it, when we came to this country, right? We immigrated, but we're not really immigrants. We're refugees.
That's true.
And, we came, it was a family of 5. Luckily, again, thank God, my dad had his aunt here. She was 75 years old, lived by herself. And she was our sponsor, because if she would not be our sponsor, we would end up in Israel, which is great place. I have a lot of relatives from my mother's side in Israel, but we came here with nothing. I remember we came like with, my parents were sharing with me at that time, I think we had like $500 in our pocket. It was not that much at all.
That's what it was.
I'm sure, right? So, and I was like 12 years old, getting into becoming 13. And I remember the first 2 or 3 weeks were staying at my aunt's house. We found a place to live. It wasn't an ideal place because the lady underneath of us was constantly just banging the freaking ceiling. I mean, it was an old apartment, and we'd walk around, and all of that shit.
You hear all of that, all those
It was bad. It was really, really bad. My dad started like stressing out a lot just because the fact that he ran a very successful business there with his family, and then when we got here, we had nothing, right? So he tried to get a couple of side jobs here and there. Didn't really go anywhere. He got into this huge depression, where he didn't really want to like do anything. He didn't really want to talk to anyone. My mom, she started working a couple of jobs here and there. She was working like 2 jobs at the same time. I remember getting my first job. Remember where Alexander's used to be?
Of course.
On corner, yeah.
Of course.
So my first job, I was handing out flyers for this a card reader, like a card reader for $1.50 an hour. That was my first job. I swear, $1.50 an hour. I would go to school, and then after school, I would go and hand out flowers till like about 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I would make money, and I would bring that money home. And the money was tight. Everything was tight,
Yeah.
And since then, I always worked. Like if you look at my
was the hustle.
That was the hustle, right? So I did that. My dad, after about 3-4 months, decided to go back. Decided to go back to the, at that time it was no more Soviet Union. He went back to Russia. He stayed in Moscow, and he tried to open up different types of businesses. So for about 5 or 6 years, it was
just grinding.
It was me, right, as the head of the family. It was my sister, my brother, and my mom, right? And that's how we pretty much grew up. We lived in an apartment right off 108 and 62nd Drive. I think at one point you guys lived in the same building, right?
In the same building. That's where we got robbed.
Too. So right. So
welcome to America.
So went to school, worked, Graduated high school, was not the best student. And I have my opinion about schools in general, and we can talk about that.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Somebody
But
asked us, like, were you a good student? And I think one of my kids asked me, and I was like, yeah, I was a C++ student. It was not, but by default, because my friends and everybody was telling me, you go to college, got to go to college. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to college. So I decided to go to St. John's for two reasons. Number one, St. John's. Number two, girls. Those are the two reasons. We decided to do this. And the degree that I chose was marketing. So from all the degrees in the world, I decided to go with marketing. Again, it was
back in the day, marketing is different.
Back in the day, didn't do any research. As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking of becoming like an attorney. I wanted to become a lawyer.
Nice.
Right? But I don't remember who told me. A couple of people at that time, I don't know, maybe they just didn't know anything, or maybe they did it, on purpose. They're like, attorneys not make that much money. Like, I know an attorney who's like a taxi driver. Like, why would you want to become an attorney? This and that. But the point is, I didn't have a mentor growing up at that time, right? So I didn't have somebody who could kind of guide me or say, hey, you know what, you should do this, you should do that. And it was always kind of me trying to figure out on my own.
Yeah.
So went to St. John's, and then like literally after about 3, 4, 5 months, I realized this was not for me. Like, I was just like, nah, man. I mean, I can't be here for the next 4 years. I just can't be, right?
So you dropped out?
So I dropped out. After about a year, I dropped out.
I actually thought you finished.
No. I did not. No. I dropped out, and remember that during that time was 97, 98. The computers, like programming, was just all kind of like the rage. Everybody was talking about it. Everyone wanted to become an IT, tech and everything like that. So I remember going to a computer school in Long Island called CCC, I think Computer Career Center. So I went there, and then your cousin Marina, she basically decided to come with me as well. So we're like driving together at the same time, going to that school. And one of the I think after about a few weeks, they had a career day there, and one of the recruiters got my resume, and at that time I was like, okay, whatever, resume, who knows?
Exactly.
So I attended.
Give it a try.
And then this guy calls me up, and at that time I was working in a jewelry store for Zach Ilyich.
So you know him like that? Wow.
Oh, yeah. So Zach, if you ever think about it from the mentor standpoint, he was like my mentor.
I tell you, he's
right?
an unbelievable
He's
fellow.
an amazing guy. He's like my brother, like, that I never had, and even right now, if I need anything, advice, this and that, he's always there for me, right?
Definitely, yes.
And he's that as well. He passed away a few years ago. But they essentially, when I was like 16, 17 years old, they took me under their wings. Like, I used to drive with them every day to the jewelry store. They had a jewelry store right off Flatbush and Fulton Street in Brooklyn. At that time, it was a dangerous area, right? But we did that, and I was a sales guy. That's how I came across like becoming like a salesperson. I learned, how to present the product. I learned how to handle certain objections. I learned how to provide good service, quality service, right? And that was kind of like my stomping ground initially. And during that time, I was working for them, was making pretty good money, going to college, got a call, and it was John. It was Marina's husband now, Jonathan Lederer.
Correct.
And it's like, hey, I got your resume, I heard great things about you, and can you guys come over? Can you come over? I want to interview you guys because we have this great opportunity working for this computer company. You're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And for me, it's like, but when he said computer company, I was like, they got to be like, they got to pay great and opportunity, right? So I went there, and Marina tagged along, and we got jobs there. I mean, the jobs were not great jobs. We're basically selling computer equipment. We're not paying that much money, but it was a good start for me to get to know some people in the industry.
Of course.
And one of them was John, who's another mentor of mine, who I look up to very much. He's a great guy, as you know. And that was kind of like my start in corporate America. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then John got a great position as a VP of sales for a software company in New York City, 2 blocks away from what used to be a World Trade Center. And he called me up one day, said, hey, you know what? Come join me. I was like, John, I don't know anything about sales, software sales and all of that. And he's like, yeah, you'll be fine. We'll teach you and all of that. That's how I got the software sales job. And I worked there for almost 4 years, 5 years, and decided to move to Arizona. So that was 20 years ago. In 2003, in May.
Why Arizona?
I don't know. I think I just wanted to change the scenery. So, I kind of grew up in New York, and I worked almost 5 years in New York City. And the whole hustle and bustle and being in subway stations and all of that stuff. I got married in 2000. My gosh.
Y2K.
Y2K. So 23 years ago, I got married. And, I just started thinking about family and all of that stuff. And I was like, man, I just do not see myself working like in a city, living in a city. And I used to travel quite a bit with this job. I used to go to different states, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like, man, there's just so much out there. There's so much more life out there than just living in New York or Queens or Brooklyn and everything like that. Me being young and adventurous, I was like, let me try different places. And Arizona was one of the places where I really liked. I had some relatives there who still live there. I've been there a few times, and I said, maybe that's the place.
A few times before
it was
moved.
Job related. Yeah, job related. Now, mind you, every time that I was there, it was during the winter months, and it was just beautiful outside.
I could imagine.
And now in the last 2 months, it's like 115 degrees every single day, right? So I fell in love with the place, right? I had everything, right? So then I finally recruited my wife, Alex, to go there. And at first she was obviously, pushing back and all of that, because you got big family. She has a big family here and everything like that, but finally I convinced her. And I remember on May 1st, 2003, we made our journey there. And we arrived at the airport, Sky Harbor International Airport. And again, it's May 1st, and it was 105 degrees outside.
That's insane.
105 degrees. So she looked at me like cross-eyed. She's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing here? I was like, I don't know. I didn't expect to be that hot.
You need to have Google back in the day.
And every year I'm saying to myself, why is it so hot? Like, and this year it's been crazy. Like June was great.
It's like a heat
July,
wave,
like 114, 115, 114, 115, 114,
but
115.
it's dry heat. No,
it is dry, but still, it's super hot. I mean, look, you get in a car, like you got to turn on your car for like 10 minutes before it can actually cool off.
Wow.
Now, everywhere you go are seas, that's fine, but you still got to function, like you still got to go outside, which is great. By the way, it's only 2-3 months, but the rest of the year, it's awesome. So anyway, got into Arizona with the same job, by the way, still working for John. But then the economy and everything else that was happening were like, okay, this is not going to be the right fit for me. And I was let go.
Wow.
John actually fired me. John fired me.
John himself fired you? Or he didn't have a choice probably. He probably from the upper.
I don't know, but I'm not mad at him because every situation creates like a bigger and better opportunity.
Absolutely.
There's that saying, blessing in disguise.
Yes.
This probably was the blessing in disguise. Now, the next 4, 5, 10 years, we're not easy, if you will. My next chapter was starting my own business. And the way it started is like my brother-in-law decided to move with me to Arizona.
Nice.
And
some support there.
Some support, nice. Yeah. And he started driving a limo. So one day, I think we were having dinner. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking like starting a limo business. And I was like, okay, great. Mazel tov.
Enjoy.
I was like, limo business, dude? Like, seriously? He's like, yeah, I think we should partner up. And I was like, dude, I have no idea. I don't know anything about limo business. I never ran a business. Like, I'm 25 years old. I'm looking for another job is going to pay me 6 figures. That's what I want, It's like, no, you're going to be good at it. I'm going to be driving. You're going to be like opening up accounts because you got the background in sales and all of that, and we're going to be golden. So I listened to him, and we started a limo business like with 2 cars.
All right. When you started to expand little by little.
Yeah, man. We started, with 2 cars, and we expanded. I think at one point we had like over 20 cars in our fleet, over 20 cars, and we started making pretty good money, not initially, but eventually. The first 3 or 4 years were the toughest.
Of course, because you constantly have to invest into more
hard.
Cars.
It's very difficult. Like anybody who wants to start a business, by the way, anyone can start a business. Like there's that old saying, any idiot can start a business.
That's right.
but not everyone can grow the business,
Right.
right? Because it takes time, it takes a lot of energy, man, it takes a lot of dedication, lots of resiliency, overcoming so much adversity. And I remember my first 3 years in that business, I was working 18, 19 hours a day,
Yeah.
not a week, a day. I was doing everything. I was doing account development. I had to drive when the drivers were not showing up. I would have to do the dispatching at nights, early in the mornings,
Wow.
billing and all of that stuff, trying to get that business up and running.
I can
Right
imagine.
now, I was 25, 26, didn't have any kids at that point. I was able to do it, but now there's no way I would be able to do it.
Of course.
So finally, we started seeing the results. And then 2008, 2009 happened. For
Okay.
us, I don't know how much New York was affected. I mean, the Wall Street definitely was
Yes.
affected, the Lehman Brothers and all of that. But in Arizona, our real estate market just cradled. Like it just went down the gutter. Like the
Wow.
prices went down as much as 60, 70% on the real estate.
I know a lot of people felt it.
Dude,
It was
A lot of people lost a lot of money. Like
Yes.
I overextended myself financially. Like at that time, I remember we had like 5 or 6 rental properties. I had a line of credit on my house, had a line of credit on other rental properties, had all these cars. We had like close to like 40 employees, part-time, full-time employees, and everything just went down the hill. Like I remember at one point, I foreclosed on all of my rentals,
all of them.
all of them.
Wow.
So, like I'm $500,000 in debt. Most of our employees I had to let go, and probably was one of the most difficult decisions at that time. Sitting down with a person who works for you, been working for you,
From day
and you're like, "Look, I can't pay you. I cannot pay myself. I cannot pay you. Like I'm not letting you go because you're not doing a good work. I'm letting you go because I cannot afford to pay you." Like we had to like let go a lot of our cars, like repossessed. Dude, like it was horrible. Like 70 to 80% of our business just stopped because most of our business were retail. Retail like party buses, limos,
Correct.
Hummers and all of that stuff. And the business just dried up. Right? So then on top of it, my wife, she's pregnant with Zach, who by the way we celebrated yesterday. His bar mitzvah was yesterday, August 31st. And then at the same time, my brother-in-law, he's like, you know what? I'm just kind of like I'm tired of this. I just do not see the opportunity anymore. He got beat up. I mean, we all got beat up financially and everything like that. He's like, we're going back.
Takes a toll.
We're going back to New York. He said. So I was like, dude, like we have a company here. Like we got this, and he's like, nah, you can have it. I'm out.
You just dropped the mic?
Yeah, it was that. And then so it's me trying to figure this out. And so yeah, my wife's pregnant. We're losing our own home because I'm over leveraged, to the oomph degree, like max. And Alex is freaking out, and I was like, look, like I know, like I don't, like I want to make sure that you're fine. Like let me figure this out with the housing situation, right? And you go to New York, be with your parents and all of that, and I'll figure things out here, right? And trust me, there were days where I didn't want to get up from the bed. Like I really wanted to just hide under the freaking blanket because I just did not see the pathway. Like I did not see it. Like creditors calling, like nasty letters.
It wasn't light at the end of the tunnel.
Dude, it was so bad on so many levels, right? I mean, we were doing so well, and then everything just collapsed. Everything just collapsed.
Wow.
And then the birth of our son happened, right? And that really kind of just reignited me. And I was like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta like push through. You see, in life, we all go through like adversity.
Of course.
Like we all go through pains and hardships, and suffering. You can ask any business owner that's been in business for more than 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years. I know they went through a lot of crap.
Of course. Listen, you go up, you go down, and then that way, that's the only way you learn and you grow. You have to face reality of nothing at a point in your life in order to gain it back up. And that's when you appreciate it more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, I had no other choice. Like I could have probably fold everything, like close everything down and just get a job, but didn't want to get another job. I didn't want to be a slave to a company.
Of course.
Didn't want to do that anymore, right? So I pushed through. And what I did is I pivoted, I changed. I started reaching out to the large corporate transportation companies out of East Coast, like Empire CLS, Boston Coach, right? And after about 4 or 5 months, I got few of those accounts.
Nice.
So I changed my business completely in about 12 months. It was all corporate now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2012, decided to sell the company, took a little sabbatical for almost a year, and then decided to get into the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate sales. That was 2013.
Wow.
Okay. So got my license, super excited, thinking, you know what? I'm just going to sell from day one because of my sales background. Right. But guess what?
Not
Again, it's not easy.
the same.
Man, I remember, here's what was happening that first year as a real estate agent. I got my license started in January. My dad is diagnosed with cancer. Is diagnosed with
2013.
stage 3. They're not even sure. Stage 3, stage 4, colon cancer. Now, I'm in Arizona. He's in New York, in Queens. So I'm like freaking out. I'm stressing. My mom is stressing, right? We're all stressing, right? And then like at the same time, because of all the stress, I started having symptoms myself.
It's the stress. The stress,
really, right? So like symptoms like GI symptoms, right? And like started going to the restroom, like bathroom, like first like 4 times a day, then like 5 times a day, 10 times a day,
Wow.
15 times a day. Again, number 2 we're talking about, right?
That's insane.
It's like, what the hell's going on? So I went to the doctor, went to the GI specialist, and they're like, did the colonoscopy and all of that. They're like, you got ulcerative colitis.
Wow. Just like that.
Yeah, you got ulcerative colitis. So it's like, we got to put you on the, at that
Meds.
time, they were giving me prednisone as well as Delzicol. Delzicol didn't really help. So imagine this. Now, again, 2013, my dad is diagnosed with cancer. I'm stressing out. I'm not generating income, by the way, at the same time. Like for the first 6 months in real estate, I made 0. But here's what I did. Every day I would show up to the office and I made calls.
Okay.
I was calling expired and canceled listings. Now, you say, okay.
Okay, meaning like you're actually going out there and still...
But there were many, many days I couldn't really go.
I hear you.
Dude, like it was so difficult on so many different levels because like you drive to a listing appointment and instead of like thinking about getting a listing, you're thinking about, man, where's the nearest bathroom?
Wow. Oh, like that. Wow. That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
And then because of this, you have to be on a specific diet.
Oh, wow.
Like, so your energy levels dip. And then again, me focusing on expireds and cancels, you're basically cold calling. You're dialing 200, 300 people a day, trying to talk to as many people as possible and try to book a listing appointment, which is very difficult to do because you're going to get rejected left and right.
Wow. I hear you.
So for 6 months, that was happening. And finally, month number 6, I got my first listing. Get this. It was not $1 million listing. It was not a $500,000 listing. It was a $100,000 listing with a $2,500 commission. But it felt like it was $1 million listing. It felt like I won something. Like it felt like a win.
It's like finding $1 on the floor.
Correct.
I understand.
Correct.
I know the feeling.
And that's just going through the adversity, right? And overcoming that adversity. Like, by the way, a lot of people, especially nowadays, and I see this in young people, I also see people, for example, in their 40s and 50s and 60s, once they hit that little pressure block, right, they're like retrieving. They're waving a white flag and saying, you know what, I'm going to go into my comfort zone.
Correct. That happens a lot.
Right? And you can't do that. You got to push through.
Yes.
Because in life, we're going to have seasons. In life, we're going to have situations where we're going to be out of our control. In life, dude, like it's like there are going to be times when you're like, I do not see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you still got to push through. You got to walk that tunnel.
100%. Without a doubt. It's just like it's a roller coaster. At the end of the day, you have those waves. One day it's nice and shiny. Another day it's really hard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, push through, got my listing, and then the rest of the year I closed 16 deals. The next year, I closed 35 transactions. Year number 3, I did 75 with the $22 million in sales, netted $500,000. Year number 4, started a team. Year number 5 and 6, had 15 agents on my team, did over 200 transactions. And then 3.5 years ago, started my own brokerage with 7 agents, and we hired over 300 agents in the last 3.5 years.
Wow. So you have 3 offices now.
We have 3 offices right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have a mortgage company. We got 5 LOs in-house.
Wow.
We have a title company as well on top of that. And then in the beginning of this year, we launched our education coaching company where we're assisting brokerage owners and team leaders to grow and scale their businesses through recruiting systems that we have implemented. And we have about 52 or 53 clients there right now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. So you personally don't do sales anymore? Like not direct sales like with clients?
On occasion, here and there, if it's a
Is it old
past
old,
client,
yes, past
like for
client?
example, I got a listing right now on a contract for $975,000, $185,000, but it's a good client of mine. I've been working with him for about 6 or 7 years. He bought a lot of property with me. He's an investor.
He's your old client.
Very easygoing. I'll take a listing here and there. Most of my buyers, they're going to go to my agents for a referral fee.
Do you pass them on to your agents?
My agents, yeah.
Usually.
A selected group of my agents, yep.
Selected group. So it's not like where, okay, you have, let's say, 15 agents and the newbies, and then you pass them as everybody gets a chance to get dibs.
No.
It's not like that?
No, I mean, newbies, there's a process in place for the newbies, right? Typically, it's going to be a trusted agent that's been with me for some time that provides an exceptional service to my clients, that is very responsive, and it really treats this like a business, like a career.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in real estate field in general, if you look at, right, like there are 1.6 million real estate agents in the country.
Mm-hmm.
1.6 million.
That's a lot.
And last year, if you look at the stats, there are like about 5 million residential transactions. So that's about 3 transactions per agent per year. That's nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
That's nothing. That means that most of the agents are treating this like a part-time gig
Correct.
or a side hustle versus like a full-time, like a real estate career or business. So the agents that usually get those type of referrals from me are the ones that are full-time agents.
Mm-hmm.
Not a part-time. It doesn't mean the part-time agent does a bad job. It's just that's not their number one priority.
That's not the right focus.
Yeah.
It's not 100% focus towards real estate.
Exactly.
I understand. How do you filter every agent? What's the process that they go through?
Well, I mean, again, we have agents in our brokerage that are like part-time agents, and that's perfectly fine. Like the way I see it is the brokerage is almost kind of like owning like a 200-unit apartment building, right? The goal is for you to rent every single unit. Because if they're not rented, you're not maximizing your profit, right? The fixed costs are pretty much the same. But you're going to have some agents, part-time agents, that are going to do 2 deals a year, 3 deals a year. But that can be an additional $5,000 to $10,000, $15,000 in revenue for you.
Absolutely.
Right? But you're also going to have agents that are going to do 15, 20, 30, 40 deals a year. And that can be additional like $50,000, $60,000 in revenue. But at the end of the day, they're all going to the same pool in terms of the income, right? So we have agents that are part-time agents. We have agents that are transitioning from being part-time, becoming full-time. We have full-time agents. We have teams within a brokerage.
Teams is like the new thing that they started doing the last maybe 10 years?
10 years, yeah. So I first started a team, then I opened my own brokerage. And I think anyone who really wants to start a team or anyone who wants to start a brokerage should probably start with the team first.
I agree with that.
Because when you run a team, it's almost kind of like a mini brokerage.
Correct.
Right? And then eventually start a brokerage. I'm a huge believer in starting brokerages because ultimately one of the reasons why I started a brokerage instead of continue running as a team is because if you're going to be recruiting agents and if you're going to be like spending time developing these agents, if you're going to be spending time in creating environment and culture for these agents to thrive and flourish, might as well have a sellable asset. And what I mean by that is whether it's 10, 15, 20 years down the road, when you decide to exit out, you want to sell the business. You cannot sell the team.
Correct. That's true.
Right? And if you're like a top producing agent, you cannot really sell your book of business. I mean, you can, but you're not really going to get the multiple for it. Whereas the real estate brokerage, you're going to get the multiple for it. And when you integrate and incorporate the mortgage side, the title side, the insurance side, and sell the entire thing,
Forget about it.
then we're talking about serious money here.
Nice. That's unbelievable. I love the way how you put the whole thing together, where all of this is catered to an average person, whoever's buying house under one roof. It's they don't have that really here. What they do, they work on referrals in New York. It's not like, well, you have it. Oh, I have a mortgage guy right here. I have a title guy all right here. You don't have to go anywhere outside. And because when people buy houses, oh, who should I call for a mortgage guy? Who should I call for the title guys?
But
And
most of the industry works exactly the same way, though, and some of it has to do with the regulations. Like I'm not sure in New York, like you are allowed. I don't think you guys are even in title state. I think you guys are an attorney state, right? But I'm not sure how the mortgages even work in terms of like having the ownership in a mortgage company. I think it's doable. I think there are more red tape or more guidelines that are involved
I
with
think
your state.
that's why they don't have them. Because
Like with everything else in your state, there's just too much stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, which is again, it's again a completely different conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But it's an opportunity, right? Anyone who actually owns a brokerage, it's an opportunity for them to also own a piece of the mortgage company or a piece of the title company, or also a piece of the insurance company, property and casualty, because they're all interconnected. They're all kind of part of the same big pie, if you will.
Of course.
And when you're generating a real estate transaction, you need to have a mortgage piece,
Without a doubt.
right? You need to have an insurance piece. You need to have a title and escrow piece as well. So when you own all of them,
It's great.
that's an ideal scenario.
That's pretty nice. What are some obstacles you went through when putting all of these pieces together? I'm sure there was a lot.
Well, I mean, obstacles are daily.
Meaning
there's-
those main pieces, like
Well, I tell you, when I started the brokerage, right? So I opened my doors on January 14, 2020.
wow,
So what happened a month and a half later? You already forgot about it.
2020. You said?
Yeah.
Oh,
In March of 2020, what happened?
March 2020.
COVID,
Oh,
lockdowns.
correct.
That's right. Remember
when we moved to this place.
Stupid
yes.
masks
Yeah,
and all of that
yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So started the company, right?
correct.
And then like a lockdown. And then I had agents like calling me, texting me, like, I can't afford this. I got to go get a job.
Another hit.
I got a bunch of agents also like submitted unemployment, even though they're not employees, like they're 1099, right? They're still like claiming they're employees.
Mhm.
So now I got to deal with
wow.
the state trying to prove my case that they're not employees of the company, right? So all of that is happening. And again, a brand new company. My office employees, none of them are in the office. That's another thing that we had to figure out. I was like, all right, are they going to work remotely? Like, are they going to be as efficient, as streamlined as they're in the office? You know, the trainings, all of our trainings were done in the office. Now all of the trainings now virtual. So all of those things had to be like figured out. That 6 to 12 month period of time, it was tough. It was really, really difficult, to be honest with you. And I didn't know. There were like months, especially in the early stages, where I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to handle this. You know, but again, you know, and I know it's kind of cliche-ish, like, how's diamond made? Pressure. You know, so pressure makes a diamond, right? If you think about it, right? So in life, we're going to constantly encounter pressure, right? It's not if, it's definitely when. So we just have to figure out how we just plow it through, how we push it through, you know, and just go after it, you know, and the next day you go to the next day, you go to the next day after that, right? With a positive mindset, as much as positive as you can be, because I know there are times when you're just like, there are times when I have so much self-doubt.
Of course.
And so many limiting beliefs.
we
How
all
many
do.
times, I'm sure, in the last 15, 20 years you've been doing this, how many times did you like ask yourself, like, am I making the right moves? Am I doing the right thing?
We have moments where, you know, you just want to drop the mic and just walk away.
Walk
And
away.
It happens often. It
happens all the time.
But you overcome that obstacle and you keep moving forward.
That's right.
You keep punching it out, baby.
Pushing, that's right.
Pushing.
You got to be pushing, right?
100%.
Because it happens to me all the time. Like, people ask me right now, it's like, well, how did you do it? Or how do you do it right now? You got all of these companies that you're running. I was like, dude, it's not easy.
It's not.
Every day is a freaking battle.
Yes.
If you think about it, right? We entrepreneurs, business owners, We're like gladiators,
Yeah.
modern day gladiators, where every freaking day we show up in the arena and every day we try to win a game called
100%.
business. And guess what? Not every day we're going to be able to win,
100%. Definitely not every day. But
right?
yeah. These
So-
are the obstacles.
So that, dude, I mean, that comes to mind. And then obviously last year was not easy year for the real estate world. The interest rates shot up. The inventory went down. Like there's so many things that are happening. You know, our revenue went down as well with it. We had a bunch of agents, especially brand new agents, left the industry. So the attrition rate went up as well. So like, I mean, there's always something. Always.
Wow.
But you cannot let that get to you.
No, you got to keep fighting, keep going forward,
Right.
keep pushing. You have to. That's the only way you be sane, you keep yourself occupied and keep going.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. What is the current book you're reading right now? I know you read books.
Yeah. I mean, right now I just finished 10x better than 2x.
Nice.
Okay. So 10x better than 2x, written by Dr. Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. He's the author. Two of them are the authors. There's another book that they wrote about a year and a half ago that I read as well. By the way, two of these books I think should be read by every single entrepreneur/business owner, especially if you want
to.
to.
Next question I was going to ask you.
If you want to grow and scale your business through people, through systems and capital, you got to read these two books. The first book that I read from them was Who Not How. Who Not How. And essentially that book says that, again, as an entrepreneur, we have a tendency of trying to solve things ourselves or fix things ourselves. And we always ask ourselves a question like, how do I do this? How do I fix that? How can I handle this situation? Instead of asking constantly yourself how, which is important, by the way, right? We should ask ourselves who.
Correct.
Who can I hire to fix this problem? Who can I hire to handle this particular situation or handle this project, right? Who? The way we're going to be able to grow as business owners is not through us, but through people.
Through people. If they have
Right?
the funds for it. Some people are.
Initially, you have to do everything yourself.
Correct.
But I know a lot of business owners that still stay at the same level. I mean, they make good money, don't get me wrong, but it's a glorified job. If tomorrow, God forbid, they're not working or they're not going there and meeting with clients, okay, their business is done. Okay? We are the biggest bottleneck. We as business owners. And the way we're going to be able to grow is through people and through systems and through capital. Those are the three factors, right? So for me, that's the biggest takeaway as a business owner is like, yeah, I can make a big piece of a much smaller pie, or I can make a small piece of a much larger pie. That allows me to have the time, allows me to have a freedom to focus on the other things and other ventures.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I love it. So those two books that you definitely...
There are a bunch of other books that I can definitely...
Which is the number one
I
topic
think-
that really changed you?
I think Who Not How is probably one of the best. For the
Yeah.
business owner, you want to read that book. And the second one, that is 10x Better Than the 2x by the same authors. Two really, really good books that will give you the vision of growing your business without you be constantly involved in that business.
Wow. Okay. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? How more evolved? Are you going to open up more brokerage for offices, or where do you see yourself? What's the next step for you?
So the next step right now is for us to grow and scale our coaching side of the business,
Coaching
right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of potential there. I really like to work with entrepreneurs, with the business owners, and kind of share my best practices, what we're doing, how we're helping, how we're growing, and really sharing what's working, what's not working with them. Like if you think about it, in a real estate brokerage world, there are like about 110,000 real estate brokerages, but most of them are struggling. Most of them are small mom and pop shops. They probably have less than 10 agents, and they're almost going to live in that death valley. They do everything themselves. They sell, they do admin work, they handle compliance, they do marketing, they manage the agents.
You're not going to go far like this
Correct.
at
And
all.
most of them just overwhelmed, and they wear multiple hats, right? So what we teach them is how to recruit agents, how to develop those agents, how to retain those agents, providing the infrastructure for them so they can grow to 50 agents, 100 agents, 150, 200 agents, and ultimately sell the business.
Mhm.
So that's really my my next step, if you will.
So like a build to sell type of a concept.
If you're going to be running a business, if you're going to own the business, you want to ultimately sell that business. There's no point of you owning a business if you cannot sell it.
Build to sell, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the next step. But I think ultimately the plan is for us to like have some sort of like a holding company where, again, I own interest in multiple companies in multiple industries, and again, just lead with value and resources in helping those business owners to grow their companies.
Very nice. Who do you look up to right now as a mentor in your industry?
In my industry, I'm not sure but there are other industries. I'm a huge fan of a couple of people. So like Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you heard about him. He just came out with the new book called $100 million Leads. Great book, great read.
Nice.
Before that, he had a book called $100 million Offers. Great. So this is the guy that had a group of gyms that he owned, sold it, started a coaching company, had that, and then sold it for $46 million. Now he's got like a private equity company where he's an investor in a bunch of different businesses. So a great person to look up to. I mean, some people hate this guy, or maybe most of the people kind of like not really big fans of him, but I really like Grant Cardone. Like what he was able to build, right, in the late parts of his career. Like if you think about Grant Cardone is like 65 years old, 64, 60. He looks great for his age, but he hasn't like he just came on the scene maybe about 10 years ago, even less than that, right? Like on social media. But before that, he was building and building and building and building. Nobody really knew about him, right?
Correct.
But this guy is definitely a hustler. This guy constantly like putting in the work, and he's just, he's trying to become famous, right? Like he's constant on social media.
That's all he has to do these days. Honestly,
exactly.
That's his thing now.
So him, and then I mean the third one, man, probably like Tony Robbins, just from the like inspirational personal development, like what this guy have accomplished and achieved in so many people's lives that he was able to change and shape, right? It's great. One day, hopefully, I'll be able to meet him as well.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you advise to our younger generation who are going into business, coming out from high school, don't know what to do, don't know where to look, how to even move forward? What book should they even know? You know what? Forget the books. Who should they follow?
So that's a great question. So following piece can be tricky because you see a lot of stuff on social media and you're like, man, these people are just killing it. They're crushing it.
Killing because they got to that stage.
But a lot of it I think is just smoking mirrors. I think a lot of it is just bullshit, honestly.
Depending on who you're talking about.
Like I see this constantly, like these people that are like in front of like jets and
yes, those definitely.
But that's where the young people like gravitates to. Like my son is 13 years old. He's like, Dad, you got to get a Lambo, you got to get a Ferrari, you got to get a Rolls Royce, you got to do this, you got to do that. I was like, that's not my audience. My audience, if you think about it, the average brokerage owner is like 50, 55 years old. The average agent still, to this year, it's still like 50 years old. The average agent, if you think about it, right? But we see this constantly. And I think the first thing is find a mentor. If you're a young person, right, find a mentor, somebody who's actually going to invest in you, but you're also going to invest in them. And what I mean by that is bring value to them, like assist to help them in any shape or form in terms of like the business side of it, right? But have a mentor or having a group of mentors that will take you under their wing, right?
But that's different depending on the field that they go to.
Whatever field they want to go to.
You think every person needs to go to college?
I don't believe so. No, I think college is the biggest scam, the biggest racket in the world. Honestly, if you think about it, what other industry where they don't promise you shit, like they promise you a diploma, that's it. That's all they do. They don't promise you to like put you on a job. They don't promise you like high paying career, nothing. Like you pay them as much as $200,000 for 4 years, maybe $250,000. You get yourself in a huge debt. Okay. And what do you got? You got a
piece of
diploma. That's all you got. Like I got employees, like they're already 3 years into college, right? And I got this guy who used to work for me. And you know what's his degree? Project management. That's his degree.
You need a degree for that.
So I was like, hey, so what are you going to be doing? Oh, I'm going to be a project manager. He's like, oh, have you ever tried project management? No. Have you ever worked in project management field? No. Have you ever interned as a project? No. So it's like, hold on a second. You're already like going to year number 4 and you paid like $100,000 for your college tuition and you don't know what you're going to be doing?
It's insane. I'd rather work for somebody for free for a couple of years.
Right. But that's my point, is the fact that seek out people that you want to be like. One of the shortcuts to success, in my humble opinion, is to surround yourself with people that have done what you're trying to do.
100%.
Right?
Without a doubt.
So, like, if you want to become an attorney, like, go work in a legal field.
Correct. In a law
right?
firm, yeah.
If you want to become a doctor, go work, for example, for a doctor. Right? If you want to become, let's say, for example, a marketer, go work for a marketing agency. Right? But work for them first and get to know that field. Yeah. Right? And then decide, all right, you know what, this is the industry that I want to really tackle. Go all in. And what I mean by going all in, I'm talking about not 3 months, not 6 months, not a year, all in.
Correct.
Give it 5 to 10 years.
Like that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right? And then starting a business, like I said, anybody can start a business, but growing a business is a completely different thing. And it's easy for a young person to say, oh, you know what, I can do it. Sure you can. Anyone can do it, I guess that's what they think, until they actually get hit in the mouth.
Of course.
And then what happens? What happens when your employee decides to leave you?
Happens all the time.
What happens when somebody sues you?
Happens.
What happens when the client is not paying your bills?
All of these things happen.
All of it. What happens when your AC stops working?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Another bill to work.
There are you just paid. How much you paid? How much you paid?
It was about $6,000.
$6,000, exactly. So the point being is the fact that the reality of the business owner is the fact that it's going to be hard. It's going to be long. You're not going to make money for the first 2 or 3 years. People are going to disappoint you. People are going to lie to you. People are going to cheat you.
Absolutely.
Okay, people are going to file fraudulent claims. It's going to happen. It's part of the game that we play called business.
100%.
So if you're not prepared for it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to retrieve. You're going to give up.
100%.
So instead of focusing on starting a business first, go work for someone.
Analyze it.
Right? Add value. Become irreplaceable in that business. And eventually, if there is a partnership opportunity, ask for that. If not, then start something on your own.
100%. But do it nicely.
Right.
Don't just start on your own. You know, talk to the person.
Don't burn any bridges.
Don't burn any bridges.
That's
the world
another
is
thing.
so small.
No,
you don't want to burn any bridges. Honestly, I believe in that. The world is round. It comes back.
Karma will get you. Like, you know how many agents that left me, and they left me not in best terms? And guess what? They're doing nothing. And some of them actually reached out to me. They want to come back. Dude, when you leave me and you left me on the bad terms, you're dead to me. I'm sorry. I can't get you back in.
Honestly,
it's not going to happen.
I feel exactly the same way.
Right?
I 100%. If they do it once, they can do it the second time and the third time. You already know what's planted in their head.
100%. So, but going back to the college, like let me expand on that. I'm not saying that don't go to college. Like, if you want to become like a doctor, go to college.
Of course, that's
if you want to become an attorney, go to college. There are high-paying jobs that require you to have a college degree.
Absolutely.
But if you're going for like property manager or marketing or whatever, dude,
there is no way to learn these type of industries unless you actually work in the industry in order to understand it. I mean, in any industry, but this is a hands-on type of a field where you have to really experience.
Exactly.
I agree.
Like I got 20-year-old agents that started with me a year ago, year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Okay, they're making $30,000, $40,000 a month.
That's great.
$30,000 to $40,000 a month.
How hard do they work?
They work hard, very hard. But we're talking about 20-year-olds.
That's not bad at all. They're feeling
good. I mean, they would be still in the second or third year in college right now.
Yeah.
And $40,000 in debt.
Yeah, 100%. Easy. That's not bad. Very well. Alan, it was a great having this podcast session with you. I had a great time. You shared some unbelievable moments that I did not personally know about you. And honestly, it was very nice. Very inspiring.
Anytime. It was an honor. Congratulations on building something special like this.
Thank you.
Man, you got the momentum, you got the big vision, and hopefully next time around we'll do round number 2.
Absolutely.
Whether it's here or back in Arizona in my podcast studio.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll come with like a movie crew next time.
Amen. Let's do it.
All right. Beautiful.
Let's do it, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
you.
man. You got it.
We done, baby. We done.
Peace out.